There we go. All right. You guys ready to talk about this stuff? And what went on in the last unit? I'm going to wear suspenders and a belt, and I'm going to stream this to the YouTubes to make sure that you guys are heard during this discussion part. And I mentioned this the last time, but I know some of you didn't make it. This will be the only place where like your face would pop up if you're concerned about that. It'll be an unlisted video on. Oh wait, I want it to be an unlisted video on my GRCC account. Is what I wanted to do. There you go. And it'll only ever get shared in the discussion forum in this class, and then it'll get tossed. So, so that is how that works. For the lecture part of it, I save those and I try to recycle them so that like there's something to use next time around. But so this will be the Zoom recording. There will be a giant GRCC logo covering my face because that's how awesome Zoom is. All right, so I'll just take these in the order they were received. It looks like the live stream is live streaming. Hannah, you want to tell us about what went on in the last 2 units, or any questions or comments or concerns you had? Oh, and pro tip, if I don't do this when I'm showing a screen, I'm screwing up. So somebody stop me and say, Rosema, make sure you're sharing your screen so we can see all the words big. Oh, so you're already ahead of everybody else.
Were we supposed to post about Unit 1 and 2 and not Unit 3?
Just about your experience up to this point. So if you've already gone ahead and done Unit 3, and going forward, I ask you to post about the delta between your last post and now, right? So whatever you posted about, if you're here next week, whatever's between your post here and next week is what we want to hear about. So that might be all over the place for the last couple of weeks, but that's okay.
Yeah. I haven't had too many problems with it so far. Like I said, it seems pretty straightforward to me. It's easier than I expected it to be. I kind of thought computer programming would be like super hard and complex, but I guess we're just like learning all the basics, which is really good right now. And yeah, it's all been pretty straightforward.
Have you done the Xylabs yet and had to deal with the super fussy robot that wants you to do exactly what the robot says to do?
Yeah. I've done the Unit 1 and 2 for that.
Okay.
I've done the labs. There's only labs in the second one.
Correct.
But,
and
yeah, it takes a couple tries for those sometimes.
yeah, the machine is fussy. It's like the nature of the beast. It's the most like computer programming IT thing we can teach you. I know I say a lot like the computer there's what you want it to do, and then there's what you told it to do, and it's really fussy, and it's kind of a hassle sometimes. So that tends to be where much frustration is encountered. I was gonna say I had a couple of too many windows open right now. I had a couple of folks in the help and FAQ thread. They pointed out that I had not updated the numbers in the Unit 2 assignment. So sorry if that confused anybody. The Unit 2 assignment was to do 5 of the Xylabs, which are basically all in the second Xylab unit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And yeah, some folks pointed that out. All right. Any others like things are going good? The big takeaways for you from Unit 3, so you've kind of worked ahead a little bit, were variables, floats, and order of operations?
Yep.
Like if you haven't done, 6th grade math for a while, you might forget the whole PIMDAS thing. And
Yep, so a good reminder on that was good. And then just all the little things, like where you do 2 times symbols instead of doing to the power of.
yeah, a lot of languages use the caret in the You know,
Yeah.
the shift 6 to do that.
Hmm. So just learning all the little things that we have to do.
Good deal. Good deal. All right. Well, thank you, Hannah. Oh, am I going to say Cal, right? But is the full name Callistus?
That's really close. It's yeah, Cal's good. Cal's good.
All right. Catching some echo from you, so careful with that. How much material have you managed to get through here so far?
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, how much success have you had getting through the material so far?
Honestly, I'm a little bit behind, but I've kind of just been working through the different modules. So far, it's been one of those things where I'm a little nervous, being that it seems like a lot of the discussion, no one's really, I guess, like no one kind of before this conversation that you're having right now, like you were saying that she kind of went ahead. I was like, okay, God, because kind of feels like a lot of the discussion is like on. I guess it's on the actual calculations and like the error loopings and stuff like that. I was having trouble with at the end of chapter one. I kind of feel like it went straight into just kind of another segment of me kind of clicking on these modules and just kind of watching them go right now. I feel like a little bit lost.
All right. It sounds like you're getting electrocuted now.
I'm in the basement of this hospital, so it's
That got better. You might have been like close to an electrical wire or something.
is it a little better now?
Oh, for real? Yeah, like a lot.
Well, I know there's a bunch of freaking like phones and stuff on here.
I was gonna say, whenever you got to wherever you just got to, it got crazy. All right. So the nice thing about this computer stuff, you mentioned showing your work. Like you don't have to show any work. Like as long as the tests we run against your work evaluate to true, you're going to be fine. At least in the Xi labs. I'm talking with other faculty if
Okay.
we'll need to do
that
something other
helps
than that.
Yeah, that helps to know just because I'm like, literally, I'm kind of learning it as I go through each module, and I really don't feel like confident in it yet.
Well, this is like a first-time programming class. We hope many of you are first-time programmers, so it should, don't feel confident. Like it's okay. We don't expect you to. Yeah. Cool. Good. All right. Daniel, how about you? You're muted if you're trying to talk to us. Ooh. Yep. And I hear myself too, which is.
I'm sorry, I'm on my phone.
No worries. So, what were your takeaways for the last couple?
It's been interesting so far. I hit kind of a roadblock on the math assignment, but I was able to work around it and get through it eventually. But if you look at my submissions, it was like 30 submissions.
It's okay.
I was just goofing up the input a lot.
So, actually, I was going to mention that, and specifically, I was going to talk about what it was I thought you might have been doing wrong. I only saw your first email, and I hope you saw my response. This would have been a fine one, by the way, to drop into the discussion, the help and fact discussion, because I bet other people were having this problem. But if you got cute with like having an extra space there, so this is my version of that program, right? So Drew was on Mars with 7 Elons, like you do. If I put any extra anything in there, and was that what turned out to be the problem for you? You didn't realize you could hit enter to put on a new line. So
Like in the actual input thing in Zybooks, what's beneath the area where you actually type in the code?
oh, sure. So their version of this form field.
Yeah, like you can hit enter there and it gives you more space, and that actually puts the end of the line in there.
So you're hitting enter in the input field when you were testing?
Yeah, and that's what fixed it for me.
Huh, okay. Good, but yeah, don't be afraid to post those in the help fac. I see those on my phone. I don't see emails on my phone. I do email like once a day. And so on days like today, I probably won't get to email since I have well, I'll probably get to like it about halfway through the day when I've got a break. But if I'm teaching the whole day or something, I don't see it. But the help fac does pop up, and it gives other students an opportunity to work on it. And yeah, you weren't wrong. If you wanted immediate help, the ATC labs open 24, almost, well, they're open like 9 to 9, Monday through Friday. So I'm happy to help, and I'm happy to do demos like this during class time. It's just like I can be a hard guy to get a hold of. Yeah, no worries. Anything else new and exciting that you learned in those first couple of labs or units?
I mean, it was neat to actually code some coming in pretty fresh base to coding, like a lot of people, it sounds like. But
Mm-hmm.
it's been interesting. All of it kind of is new. Like my brother is way into, coding and stuff, and so it's kind of neat that I'm kind of walking the same path he is.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, that was Daniel. Next is Mitch. What'd you think? Oh yeah, you were the go-getter who went and signed up for Zybooks by searching.
Yeah, I messed everything up real bad for me when you posted the first assignments. But luckily, I did them properly in the right order anyway. And that was super easy. I just emailed them and they got it fixed that day.
Yeah, and thanks. Now I have 2 CIS 116 computer programmings, and one of them's just dead.
You can get rid of it. Just make it go away. It's fine.
I can't. I have
It
to.
disappeared on mine.
I have to call
Okay.
support and have them get rid of it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's introduction to coding, I guess. I think I posted in my first post last week. Like, I do a lot of stuff with Raspberry Pis and build things,
Mhm.
but like, there's already documentation out there, and it's a lot of copy paste. So there's not like writing of the code necessarily. But this week I went through all of chapter 3, and the mathematical stuff really got me because I didn't know what any of the symbols meant. It's been 26 years since I've done math like that.
I know
didn't
that
do
feeling.
good then, and I was like, I'm gonna have to Google. So I was Googling stuff, and I figured it out. Like basically after I realized like what the symbols meant, that okay, this is math dot squirt or whatever, SQRT
Mhm.
squared, and then I could kind of figure it out there, but I had to go through a bunch of times and kind of get errors and show me the answer a bunch to see what it was they were looking for. I'm more of a visual, so once I did that, I was able to like reproduce.
That trial and error thing, that's beautiful. That's exactly what we want you to be doing to figure out how to make your code go. So like playing with it and then tweaking it and untweaking it and tweaking it and untweaking it. That's
And then I did 3 of the Xi labs in Unit 3, and then a couple of them, I kind of put code in and then ran it as I went to kind of see what error I would get, which then meant like it said variable 3 is non-existent. I'm like, okay, so these 2 floats and then this is right. So if I continue writing it, it should be fine.
And especially when you're starting out with a programming language. So even experienced coders, when I teach at U of M, I get a lab assistant, and usually or a assistant instructor, and usually that person's like somebody in the industry who codes all day, every day for a living. And even those guys, even guys who are like 9 to 5 coders who live and breathe their code, they'll test their code in very small blocks. Usually what they'll do like a function or 2, but like starting out, do a line or 2 and make sure that line does what you think that line does. Because I will get students who come to me for help and they've written 1,000 lines of code and like they hit go and it didn't work. And they're like, why? I'm like, all right, comment out line 2 to line 999 and let's start there. All right, now uncomment line 3 and run it again. And like, that's just how the game works. So it's good that you're picking that up.
In chapter 2 as well, like, hey, let's do small blocks and see. And then seeing the error sometimes lets me know what I did wrong by the syntax error or whatever.
Right.
And then make sure for the class, like, read the questions like more than once, because sometimes the answers are like the code portion of it is already there for the print, like what you need to run, and then you need to figure out what your variables are. It's like all there.
Those are good insights and good advice. Excellent.
But I'll get into chapter 4. I told you I try to be ahead just because work life, kids, balance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try to be a couple chapters ahead if I can, if that's okay.
That is entirely okay, and encouraged. Like, you go as far ahead as you want. That's why, if you noticed in the discussion for last week, I posted a printout of the stuff you can't see to kind of give you an idea of what is coming up.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That PDF basically showed that we had to do 3 Xylabs per.
That's the idea.
1 was 2, so that was helpful.
Although I reserve the right to change that to 5 or 1 or whatever. And we're in discussions about adding a common non-Xylab final for all of the CIS 116 classes, because like there's pretty much everybody in CIS should be able to teach this class. So we have multiple instructors who teach it. We were thinking we might want to get all on the same page. So there might be some tweaking, but I'm the department chair, so usually I win those debates. No, I'm kidding. Don't tell those guys that. Actually, Jonathan Resendez, if you guys go on in programming, he's awesome, and I'd like defer to him on most of these questions. So good. And then did we hear from David? Did not hear from you. Did you manage to get a discussion posted into this?
Oh, no, sorry, I didn't do that yet.
All
You
right.
want me to pop something in real quick?
Well, yeah, do it after the fact. If you already kind of know, well, I tell you what. Let me look at what the other folks had put in here. These are the discussions from earlier in the week that I've gone through and I was reading. Let me think. There was one other question in the help FAQ I wanted to get to about the assignments, where they say something like that they're an assignment object in Blackboard. So I don't expect you to put anything in as a submission because Xylabs is telling me whether you were doing it or not. So there were a couple of folks in the FAQ that had that question, and there's the answer. I hope I had mentioned that previously and they just missed it, but if not, that's the deal. We will. The only time I would ask you to submit something there is if you had to redo something, like you had a medical emergency or something. That was these questions from Melissa et al. And Greg, I think, was on the ball about it. You don't have to upload anything. You just have to have stuff done by the due dates. That's absolutely right.
Do we not have to even click submit on those at all?
Correct.
Do we need to submit them? Okay.
Nope, you do not.
Less click is better. Got it.
Exactly. The only reason they're actually in there is in case you were to have a family emergency or something, and you would just use them then to let me know that you submitted after the fact. But if you're doing your work on time, you're great. And then Friday at noon, I will go through and I will put transfer the grades from Zybooks into Blackboard, which is a way more manual process than it should be, and then put zeros if you haven't gotten to the Zybooks at that point. But of course, all of you will have the work done and we'll have 100% on everything, and it'll be beautiful. So you guys don't have to worry about that. And what else? Do you have any other burning questions I need to address in here?
Hey, quick question on that part. A lot of times I'll go back into Zybooks and I'm sitting here like my work isn't saved. Does that matter? Like after I do it, you automatically get a notification that it's done?
Yeah, I've never had a problem with Zybook in the couple of years we've been using it where it didn't keep track of your work.
Yeah, perfect.
But I guess, are you saying like the little animations and stuff go away? And like don't show that you've done them before?
Also, like questions and stuff like that in the middle of each, the questions and stuff.
Yeah, those save in real time.
Okay.
But yeah, keep an eye on that and let me know if it's not behaving the way we think it is behaving.
I definitely want that 100% we were just talking about. So yeah, I'll let you know.
Mm-hmm. Good deal. Keep an eye on it. What did I highlight there? Oh, yeah. This was a good insight from Greg. Again, that Greg guy, he's good. About commenting. When you're asked to write more serious code as an assignment or as like a part of a job someday, it is usually a good idea to start with the requirements as comments and then morph those requirements into like comments that make more sense. So if your boss says, go write me a function that takes two numbers and, you know, raises them to the power of 7 and spits that back out, you would start as that's your comment. It's like the requirement is this function takes two numbers and spits out blah, blah, blah. So an excellent insight. David's insight here about doing IT support and doing like the troubleshooting process is exactly one of the reasons we want to do it. And like, if you're good at troubleshooting in those kind of situations, like if you're good at, you know, breaking down the problem into its constituent parts and then testing each of those little parts, like that's coding in a nutshell. That thought process of we want to do this thing. Here are the little bitty steps I need to take in order to do that thing. So I thought that was a great insight, and thank you for bringing some like real world interaction into the thing. Hannah hopefully is no longer concerned about how to submit stuff. And I'm sorry that everybody was confused. Again, could have sworn I talked about that.
I do have one quick question, one thing just to clarify.
Yeah.
So we won't have like any strict tests or labs outside of Zybooks unless if it's like the final at the end that still has to be decided?
So each week after class, I will try, or at this discussion, I will try, and somebody reminded me if I forget, to go in and talk about what is due for the upcoming weeks. So in Unit 3 and Unit 4, there is a quiz inside a Blackboard, but there will be no surprises here. Like, I'm not going to assign, if you looked at that PDF document, like right now it is my intention to do all that and nothing more. Although, did I print the PDF? I originally thought about 5 Xylabs per week, and then Jonathan talked me down to 3. So you guys should send him a thank you card. So it says 3 in the book. Mitch, thanks. In that printout? Okay. But yeah, so yeah, this is it. Do the reading, do the assignments, do the quiz, do the discussions on the odd dates, and that's kind of my intention for the class. Listen to me talk about them. It's scintillating and exciting, I'm sure, to hear me discuss the material in Zybooks and try to answer your questions as we go. But that's the plan. Hopefully a good start to your career in programming. So I hope you remain excited to learn, like Ross is here, about programming. Yeah, this was a good insight about writing as little code as possible from Thomas here. Do not, especially when you start doing bigger blocks of code, do not write 1,000 lines and then hit go and flip out because it's not working, because that's it. So Israel was worried, unclear. That lab rubric is standard throughout all of my programming classes. If I give you an outside assignment, which we may do for a final project, we're still discussing it, you would need to follow that rubric. Otherwise, the Zybooks stuff, just hit submit on Zybooks and it'll work. So debugging is a big deal. This is Alexandria Webster's question here. She was getting confused about tests in Area 1. Yes, you have to go back and do research. We will show a little bit of debugging as the course progresses and the programs get longer. Debugging often includes like if you've got like a big program, like this one I wrote a while ago. What is this one? Oh, that one opens a bunch of web browser tabs to see if the classes I need to finish my PhD are available. But so I suppose is a fine example. It just opens up a list of browser tabs, basically. If I want to, like when I start formally debugging stuff, when I start using a debugger in my code, the difference is that you use a tool, and this is sort of beyond the scope of what you need to know for this class, but useful to know if you get into this. You will use a tool to put one of these little breakpoints in to your code, and it will pause the code from running. Right? So if I right click on this and I debug Purdue here, it runs line 1 here, and then it gets to this little red dot and it stops so that I can like think about what's going on. This is more useful if you've got like a bunch of variables going on and you don't know what the variable is. So if like I have a variable named Steve that is a dude's name and I want to verify that that's what's going on, when I run the debugger, it will show me down here the variables and the values of the variables. And so like I can stop and I can think about what my code is doing and then I can run it later. But for whatever reason, debugging's kind of an advanced-ish concept. It's not super advanced or anything. I think I just showed you the like meat and potatoes of how it works. But it is, it's sometimes a little confusing. So for the time being, if I was, let me finish that example before I move on here. If I was really curious about this and I did not know how to get my code into an IDE and use a debugger, the same solution is to just print your variables. And maybe put something in there like, am I doing that right or am I supposed to plus that? So notice down here I get a debug note on the console that tells me what's going on. And since I ran it without pausing it, I also get a list of all the classes that I'm curious about in a web browser, which is all that program does. But that's kind of a good example of like automating the boring stuff with Python. I just took, and I could have done this in a loop or something or created an array, but I just took all of these classes I'm supposed to be taking and threw them into a piece of code. And when I need to check next semester if, you know, CS626 is available, I just run this thing and it pops them all up for me. So I get an idea. But I also got, more importantly, a debug message out of there without using a debugger that just told me the value of this variable in case I like didn't understand what was going on with that variable. Mm-hmm. Somebody was playing around with string literals. All kinds of fun. Don't understand how to do nested functions. Well, don't worry about that, Kristen Bright, because we're not doing those yet. Well, I guess kind of we did nested functions a little bit. So, I mean, if you think about how we did like print inside of int, inside of those kind of things, that was one function inside of another function inside of another function. It's actually kind of like a slick and tricky way to do things. I'm a fan. David, did you have a chance to drop something into Unit 3 while I was blathering on about your fellow students' inputs there?
I was trying to listen. I didn't. Sorry. That's
fine. Killing me here. You're killing me. But next time during that little pause at the beginning of class, that's when we expect you to do that. All right, and then we did go over what's coming up in Units 3 and 4, right? So you've got more Xylabs. I will put a YouTube video that we will make in a couple of seconds here about Unit 3 in that first one, and another one that we will put in Unit 4 for the second one. Xylabs in each, the quiz in each, and then the discussion that we just did. And that's about all the things. So no further questions, comments, concerns? About ready to wrap this thing up?
Sit back on my first question. So today we joined this meeting.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
we
yeah, good
typed
question.
our questions in here.
Mm-hmm.
What is the expectation moving forward for posting? Do we have to post another
Nope.
Students?
You are done. So that's sort of, for those of you who might be watching this, possibly, Mitch's question is pretty good. If you don't like writing 300 words and then discussion responses, which is how in an online class we make you do participation, right? I do that in my in-seat classes too, because I don't like to let students get away with sitting in the back of the class with their heads down unless I'm teaching a class with like 100 people in it. So, and I try not to do those because I don't think those are great learning experiences. Watch a YouTube video if you want to do that. But so yeah, that's how you do your participation. But this way, you do your participation, and like I can see everyone's lovely face this morning, and I can hear them talk. And if you've done all that, then that takes the place of that discussion requirement. And if I ever screw up and accidentally grade that wrong, don't be afraid to just shoot me an email and say you screwed that up, and I'll fix it. Good deal. Thank you for looping back around on that first question. If that is all, I'll stop the live stream for the discussion, and I'll post it into the discussion forums after we wrap up. And then if you guys want to take 5 here, I would really love to have another cup of coffee to talk about units 3 and 4, and then we'll do that and call it a day. Sound like a plan?
Do we have to attend that?
It's not a requirement. It's not, I'm not going to hold it against you. So sometimes folks had to bail, like Greg got to where he was going right as we were wrapping up. If you think that is valuable to you, I would encourage you to do so. But yeah, I'm not going to throw you out if you don't. So, I mean, some people just don't think they benefit from that kind of interaction. I know I would, if given the option, read as opposed to video. And I would, depending on my schedule, I would write as opposed to show up to one of these. So, not a requirement. I'm not gonna hold it against you if you can't make it.
That was the only question. I mean,
Yeah.
I have to choose my time wisely, I guess. Do I write 300 words and attend this and that, or do I attend the other one? Which I could watch the other video later as well.
That is true.
I'm at home when my kids are sleeping and I'm not on my lunch break.
That is true, for sure. So yeah, your call.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's take 10. We'll see who disappears. We'll come back, and then we will discuss units 3 and 4.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.